My name is Paul Atherton. I'm a sales coach and a lifetime salesman. Over the last 30 years, I've worked with thousands of salespeople, learned from them, taught them, sold with them, enjoyed success with them. And I have a question for you. If you're in sales, if you're in any position where you have to persuade, inspire change, influence people, change their thinking, shift their beliefs, if you're in a position where you have to do that regularly, so your success, your income, is contingent on your ability to influence people at the level of thinking and belief and make them, inspire them to want to change, to create the circumstances where they choose to change. If that's what your success is contingent on, my question to you is this: what's the biggest insult a customer can give you? Now, you'll notice the specific words I've used here. I've used the phrase customer. I haven't used the phrase prospect. I've used the phrase customer because a customer is somebody who's bought from you. You've exchanged a contract, you've made an agreement with them, you've made a commitment to each other, they've given you money, and you are going to render services or products in exchange for that and value. So they've gone past the point of deliberation, should we or shouldn't we, and they've made a commitment. So that's a customer. A prospect is somebody who has not yet made that commitment. They may have verbally given you some encouraging signs, promises, we're very interested, we'll get back to you, we want to talk again, we're going to give it some more thought, let's spend some more time on it, let's have another appointment, put it in writing, all that kind of stuff. That's not a client. Those things mean nothing. That is not currency. Okay, that's a prospect. What I'm talking about is the biggest insult a customer can give you. And the answer, I sincerely believe, based on all my experience, is that the number one insult a customer can give you is to cancel their order with you by email. Let's just explore that, okay? Because the very nature, or the very fact that they're cancelling an agreement they made with you face to face after significant time together, where you built a relationship of trust, sufficient trust for them to give you money and make a commitment. You spent time with each other, found out about each other, got on first name terms, made a set of promises and agreed a plan of action that you were going to then pursue together right to the end. You committed guarantees to them and promises of product performance and value, and it was signed, sealed and delivered. And it was all done face to face in good faith. Now, the fact that they have then, the day later or 2 days later, it's pretty quickly usually, right? The fact that within a space of a day or two, they've had doubts isn't the issue. That's not the issue. Human nature is they have doubts. Human nature is they make a decision emotionally in the moment based on desire, momentum, positivity, inspiration. They make that decision in the moment based on an emotional presence. Okay, then they justify it with logic. We all know that, the theory, right? But how does it play out? So it's not. This isn't the insult, isn't it? That when I cancellations happen. People change their mind. They wake up the next day and they think, "What have I done? What have we done, love? Did we do the right thing? Can we really afford this? Did we get carried away? This is natural stuff." Or perhaps somebody's got to them. A relative, a friend, a colleague, possibly some smart ass who takes pleasure. Oh, you didn't do that, did you? You didn't buy that, did you? Oh, I've heard about some bad experience. Tell stories, and they sow all kind of seeds of fear, and people can get to them. Or well-meaning people can equally put thoughts in their mind. Do you think you might want to maybe get a second opinion? Those things can happen. That's not the issue. That's part of selling. The issue here is the fact that they've chosen to avoid a face-to-face discussion, or at least a voice-to-voice discussion. They've actually chosen to avoid you. They've chosen to not personally tell you that they want to unwind and do a complete U-turn on everything that was agreed and make it null and void. And what that does is, if you are experiencing that, or have experienced that, that is not the customer's fault. Okay, so we cannot blame it on the customer. It's easy to do that, judge the customer. But actually, it's not the best way to grow as a salesperson. It's not the best way to analyse performance. We have to take responsibility. So, how did I set that up? Because it is an insult. It's a sign that they really don't have any trust in you, or any genuine feelings of obligation, or any psychological obligation to you. They just want to get rid of you and move on. And that's a sign. It's not just an inference, it's actually proof that you have missed out a whole chunk of reinforcing behaviour that would have not necessarily prevented the cancellation, but would have prevented them cancelling by email and avoiding a discussion, avoiding an adult conversation. And you need to look at you, because if that happens once, it is highly likely that your behaviour is going to cause that to repeat again and again and again, and it will eat away at your motivation, it will eat away at your income, it will absolutely kill your energy and your confidence. Okay, and you need to put a stop to it immediately, right? So let's look at the solution. The solution is, let's look at the problem first. Let's actually diagnose the problem properly. What is likely is that something close to this has happened. You've got to the end, you've gently asked for the order, or they've said, we're ready to buy, we're going to do this, and they've had that beautiful moment where they feel great, and you do the paperwork, you took the deposit, and fairly quickly you got rid of them. That's likely to be what the conclusion of your sale looks like, if you're getting cancellations by email. You've actually concluded the paperwork, got the deposit, and you've processed them out fairly quickly, which is okay if you're in a shop selling sweets and groceries. That's fine. They come along, they give you the money, and away they go. But if you're selling luxury items, you're selling life-changing stuff, you're selling big decisions, things that have a significant financial impact, major commitment, and involve a significant change in their life, you cannot afford to completely ignore the fact that when they've given you the money and they've had that beautiful feeling of giving themselves this reward, this gift, this present, they have a self-esteem boost, they have a chemical release of dopamine, which is the reward chemical. They feel fantastic. That's why people love to buy but hate being sold to. If we engineer it so that they choose to buy, we say, so what's a good next step for you? And they say, well, we're going to go for it. Them choosing to buy is what causes that release. They feel fantastic. What you're doing at that stage is you're wrapping things up, and you're leaving them on an emotional high, and then somewhere else, outside or away in their life, they're then coming down and being influenced by their own fear, by their own negative thoughts, or by other people's. And you can stop that, and you need to stop that, and here's how you do something like this. I'm not saying you have to use my words, but this is the process. So what you do is you give them a big congratulations, and you say, congratulations, well done, welcome to the family, if it's that kind of business, yeah, something like that, something very warm, okay, that conveys the fact that they're joining lots of other people, the social proof. And then ask them a question, how do you feel? And get them to state their emotional condition, their feeling, their state, get them to put it in words. By doing so, they are reinforcing to themselves that it is a good thing. And by the way, persuasion takes place not when you're talking. Persuasion takes place when the customer is talking about their problems earlier on, their feelings of relief and optimism and excitement at the point of sale. They persuade themselves, you don't persuade. They persuade themselves when they're talking about them and their problems and their future and their life. That's where persuasion takes place. Your job is to engineer, through questioning, them talking. Okay, so you ask them, how do you feel? And then what you do is you tell them what has happened. Summarise what's happened. Actually, what you've got to do in sales is, the questions you don't want to ask. Like the things you really don't want to ask. Because there's a potential that you might get some answers that you don't want. There might be a perception that you might get some friction. Or you might get an answer that you've got to deal with and create an argument to convince them. Those questions that you don't want to ask are the very questions that you have to ask. Because behind the questions that you don't want to ask lie truths. Whereas most of the other dialogue that takes place in sales conversation is littered with half-truths, exaggerations, and even downright lies. So the questions you don't want to ask, where relating to this part, this cancellation issue, is you've got to say to them, did you think you'd be treating yourself today? Did you think you'd be giving yourself this reward and moving forward with this today? Was that what you were planning? You've got to get this out. Let's talk about it. Let's point to the elephant in the room. Otherwise, they're going to think about it afterwards. And if you can get them talking, we didn't really think we were going to buy this today, actually. Then you say, well, what made you? What was it that did it for you? What was the single thing, or the most important thing that gave you the certainty, that gave you that level of certainty that you were safe making the decision that it was the right thing to do? What was it? And get them to tell you exactly what it was. Because you might need it for later when doubts creep in. But also you need them to be telling themselves the major factor which helped them make the right decision. Yeah? So yeah, what was it that made it? And also you need to know why people are buying from you so that you can recreate and replicate the stuff that they say was what made them buy for you. You just do more of it, okay? So what made you buy? What made you do it today? Okay, that's fantastic. Right, in my experience, and human nature is, later today, over the next few days, you're going to revisit the decision you've made today. You're going to be delighted on one hand and excited and relieved that all the frustrations and problems are gone, and that you've now got, a hassle-free life where it comes to this product, hassle-free situation, a whole lot of new rewarding things that you're going to be able to be, do, and have, which is great. But on the other hand, there's also going to be some questions that will visit you, which is, have we done the right thing? Can we afford it? Do we really need it? These things, this is human nature, this will creep in. And my job and my motive is not to force people to have what they don't want. My motive is to solve people's problems and to create the opportunity where they can have the nicest things in life that they want, the luxuries in life that they want. If I can be a part of solving problems and creating the life they want, then that really fulfills me. The money, commission and all this, that's the last thing, that's just the practical part. The reason I choose to do this is to see how people's lives have changed and to be a part of that. Okay? So the reason I'm telling you this is I want us to agree right now that we're going to continue the good faith relationship that we've created today. And I want to ask you if any doubts, questions, concerns stick in your mind and become and start to bug you, and they've been on your mind for a few hours, I want you to pick up the phone. I want you to tell me exactly how you feel. And I promise you, I won't force you to do anything you don't want to. I want you to pick up the phone and tell me what your concerns are. And ask me to remind, repeat, cover again, recap, answer any questions. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you make the most informed and responsible decision for you that's going to give you the future that you want, so you can look back on it as a great decision and a moment where things change for the better. So, can I ask you now, will you do that for me? Will you call me personally? If any doubts or fears or concerns creep in, will you do that for me? Now, delivered with that, in that way, with that bedside manner, with that sincerity, they are not going to say no. And you need to get that commitment. Because what then that then does is that gives you an opportunity to bring the prospect back to the conversation, revisit the things they told you was why they bought, revisit the problems that they came to you with, that if they don't go through with this, all those problems are going to come back again and be multiplied and magnified, and they're going to live with them. And actually living with the problems that they've had, and the cost of those problems, and the hassle of those problems, and the time spent dealing with them, living with those problems is actually more expensive and costly than buying this product to solve them. The cheaper option is the solution. The more expensive option is doing nothing and living with the pain. So we need an opportunity to be able to revisit that. That is what this does. It commits them and keeps them accountable to following things through with you and remaining honest. Once you've then done that and you've got that commitment, you make sure they have your cell number, your WhatsApp number, whatever it is. Do not say email me. Do not in any way, at any stage, engage in any dialogue which suggests to your client that it is acceptable to have discussions over email. Email is for information. It is for documentation. It's for quick questions. It's not for discussions, emotions, decisions. So cut that out of your entire sales process and thinking instantly. It's the last thing you cannot afford to do it. Nobody sells by email, right? So it's all about the telephone call. And not text either. It's a live conversation. Once you've then got that commitment from them, you then tell them what has happened today. So you came to me today with these problems. We discussed these problems. We discussed how they affected you. You recap everything. We then showed you how our product eliminates each of those problems one by one. And I asked you sincerely, how satisfied are you that the service, that the product kills that pain, those problems for good. We talked about the guarantees, the after sales service. We showed you the customer testimonials. We gave you a real insight into not just what the product is, but what it causes and its effects, and how that's sustained and how that lasts, how your problems never come back. And we then also showed you, once it's eliminated the pain, how it then goes on to create a whole load of benefits that you could be, do, and have. Then you recover those benefits. So when you're going to be this, you're going to be able to do that, you can have this, you can have that. Okay? That's what you want, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Now, how much did you think this was going to be? You need to talk about money. How much did you think, coming in here today, that this was going to be? Okay, so we've agreed a price which you now agree is true value of, and then you quote the price. How do you feel about the fact that you spent more than you planned on? You've got to discuss this. Because they'll then start to convince themselves and say, well, isn't that always what happens in life? We'll spend a bit more, but it's worth it. So they come up with their own answers. So talk about it. Do not avoid the stuff that has to be talked about, because if you don't talk about it here, right at the end of the sale, it's going to come straight into their head afterwards. And if you haven't done it properly, they'll cancel by email. So you talk about the price. And then you talk about what's going to happen now, the fulfillment. Right, here's what's going to happen next. You introduce all the staff members that they're going to speak to, people that are going to contact them, letters they'll receive, welcome packs, any other services that they're going to get, product delivery, when it's going to start working, your availability, the fact that you're going to be on hand to help them, and the service department or whatever, a whole group of people to support them and to deliver the promises and to back up the guarantees and to take care of them. And then you finish by saying, and in a couple of months' time, I'd like us to meet again, because I'd like you to do one of the testimonial videos for me, because I know you're going to be blown away and it's going to make such a beautiful difference to your life, that I'd like to get you to share just a couple of minutes, like I showed you today, other clients. I'd like you to be my clients that I show to other people who equally are sat in your position, have some genuine desire but also have some fears. Would you do that for me? Providing you're delighted. You get the commitment. So you're taking them mentally right to that point. The journey you're taking them on is long term. Yes? And then what you do is you bring them down. And you slowly wrap everything up, make sure they've got the documentation. Then you talk about what's going to happen next. So what else have you got planned for the day? Slowly. Don't rush. And bring them down so they bring right down emotionally, and they leave calm. They leave satisfied logically that they've done the right thing. All of the questions that you didn't want to ask, you've asked, and you've dealt with all of the spiky subjects, the stuff that the average salesperson leaves unspoken and doesn't deal with. You have dealt with it. They've got zero concerns, and you have inoculated them against the negative thoughts that are going to visit them, the other people in their life, the well-meaning people who might put a thought in their head which they don't want, and also the smart arse who may even have the agenda of wanting to sabotage you. You've inoculated against all of that stuff, and you have got them to commit to you that any concerns that in any way start to get so serious that they're questioning the whole thing, they must call you straight away, and that you'll be there, and that you will not try and convince them to do anything that's not right for them, and you are there to help them. You get that commitment. And once they're calm, right back, then you thank them for the time, you congratulate them again, you leave with a great big smile, and you've done everything possible to protect that win-win piece of business that is going to change their lives, help your company go forward, create profit, create value for the client, create profit for the customer, and you get to take a share of the value you've created home with you, and you deserve it. And then if any doubts creep in, then you've got a client who will call you, so that you've got every chance to protect that business. If you do not do any of that, it's taken me 24 minutes to dictate it. I was kind of mentally thinking, oh, this would be a 5-minute video. But it just shows that's actually the length. It takes as long as it takes. It doesn't matter, it takes half an hour. If it takes an hour, that's fine. You cannot avoid not to, you cannot afford not to do it. Now, do you appreciate that? Because if you don't appreciate that, you're in serious trouble. If you are not convinced of what I've just told you that you need to learn, practice, and do, if you're not convinced of that, then you're going to continue making sales that subsequently cancel by email. And you will not last in the sales profession because you won't be able to afford to. And it's totally unnecessary. You have the solution, you have the approach, the words, the structure, the content, the delivery. You just have it, you have it all. You have it all, and you have it for free, on me, with my compliments. You'll have a transcript, because this will be on YouTube, you'll have a transcript which you'll be able to open up and copy and paste, and then you can read it, and you can have it as something you can read and learn and practice. I wish you every success. It's now down to you to do this. I can't do it for you. You do it, you deserve the success that you have. You avoid it because you perceive it's painful and you're prepared to take a risk, and then you risk everything. And I genuinely wish you every success. Thank you.